Today's guest is someone whose path to wellness was anything but a straight line, and that's exactly what makes this story so compelling. Richard Perry is a Portland-based entrepreneur, Navy veteran, trained chef, and the founder of NutriGardens, a plant-based, chef-owned, family-operated company he started back in 2012. Before he was in the supplement space, Richard spent 15 years building a large art book publishing company, producing titles for names like Louis Armstrong and Miramax. But somewhere along the way, he realized he wanted to do something that actually helped people. That shift began with a bike crash and a beet. After a serious cycling injury, Richard started juicing beets to support his recovery. And when the process became too messy and time-consuming, he turned it into a product. Beet Boost was born, but Richard didn't stop there. Digging deeper into the science of nitric oxide and circulation, he discovered red spinach, technically the amaranth plant, which contains up to 5 times the naturally occurring dietary nitrate of beets. He sourced it, he had it tested, and eventually caught the attention of researchers at Samford University and the University of Alabama at Birmingham, where 2 clinical studies have now been published on his red spinach extract. Today, NutriGardens serves everyday athletes, aging adults, and everyone in between, from weekend cyclists to Olympic and professional sports teams, with clean, food-based nutrition that supports circulation, performance, and longevity. Richard, welcome to the podcast. So excited to talk to you today and have this conversation with you.
Well, Beth, thanks for having me. It's really good to be here. And you've pretty much said it all. So thanks for having me and have a great day.
And peace out.
Peace out.
No. We have so much more to talk about. Like I mentioned, you've had a really unique path. Navy, chef, publishing. So tell us all about that. We want to hear about the journey. And then what was the turning point when you really realized that you wanted to move into the health and wellness space and make a bigger impact?
I think it all started from being hyperactive as a kid, and without going into every moment of my life, I'll just say that hyperactivity landed me in military school, and that military school had Navy training. So Navy was of interest to me. So I joined the Navy after that. I was in the right place at the wrong time, I guess you could say, and my entire ship got the Expeditionary Medal, so I'm a decorated veteran.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, it was my pleasure. Literally loved being, I grew up on a lake, so being on a ship in a massive lake was actually just the joy of a lifetime. Going all these ports, I'm just a kid, And then who knows what it was? Maybe it might have been doing kitchen duty on the ship, scrambling eggs. We had this griddle that had these little metal sides on it, 3 sides. And the ship is always kind of doing a little pitch and roll like this. And we had this huge thing of scrambled eggs. And to make the omelets, you pour the egg onto this huge griddle and make these squares. And you have this pre-cooked filling. You just scoop it into the middle of the squares. And then you fold the corners over and flip them over, and then the sailors come through and you divvy them up. Just as I had poured that egg in there, the ship took a roll, and the egg hit the sides thing and splattered everywhere. And I spent my entire afternoon cleaning up that kitchen. But I don't know if it was that experience, but the experience in the kitchen with my grandma and just being in kitchen responsibilities on the ship. I was a sonar technician, but the new guy has to do all the dirty work. Made me, I grew really interested in the culinary process. And for a hyperactive person, I think using ingredients and making something, like getting that instant gratification of a meal coming together, making it look nice, wiping the rim and just doing things like that, led me to culinary school. And then upon graduation, I got hired as the executive chef at Mount Bachelor. And it's been kind of a journey like that, where it's like responsibility and things have always kind of been really out of my capability. But in each case, I tried to rise to the occasion. Same with publishing books. I couldn't get my first book published. So I'm like, well, the heck with you. I'm going to do it myself. And I flew around, photographed collections, came back and did a price guide on Maxfield Parish and started a publishing company. Knew a friend who had a publishing company, and he sat down with me and he said, well, I was looking for help. And he said, well, basically, what do you want to do? Be an author, or do you want to be a publisher? And I said, oh, publishing sounds interesting to me. And literally overnight, I became a publisher. I found authors. And then those books got more beautiful and thicker and bigger. And we were winning, cookbook of the year. We won all kinds of awards from the Independent Publishers Association. And it just grew on its own, always sort of like ahead of me. I'm like trying to catch up to it. And it's always sort of been like that for me, just an idea, a dream, and just going for it and not really thinking about can I or should I, but if it feels good, I just go for it.
I think that's the true mark of a true entrepreneur, actually.
Always in the entrepreneur.
So there you were publishing these beautiful award-winning books that kind of all started because you couldn't get your own published and you had a conversation that changed your trajectory. And so then what took you into the health and wellness space from that?
Riding my bicycle. I was one of these very avid cyclists, shaved my legs, did the centuries, rode with a Peloton, did the whole kind of thing. And, you'd think that the accident I'm about to tell you about would have happened in some, like I was in a race and I was passing and man, it was right on the finish line. I tumbled over and we won, but it wasn't like that at all. Actually, it was about 3 miles an hour riding on a sidewalk at Saturday Market in Portland when a couple that I was gently going in and out of like we do on the sidewalk kind of came out from behind a taller couple and I went the same way. And I just remember something like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing I know, I wake up in the hospital and I've got my two best friends and my wife and my daughter standing over me. And there's a doctor comes in the room. Oh, I see you're awake now. Ended up with a concussion. So everything was fine. But I didn't want to heal, like ibuprofen. And being a chef, I was just thinking, is there any way I can just heal with food? Is that even possible? I mean, what does that look like? So juicing was kind of becoming a thing. And I went and got a juicer and started juicing carrots and apples and just everything, celery and beets. And every time I included beets in my mix, I always felt like, wow, I feel great, like alive, like you feel maybe when you get a lot of oxygen, like if you just breathe in a bunch of times through your nose real deep, you kind of get that sort of awake feeling. That's how I felt. And so I was beginning to research beets and discovered dietary nitrate that produced nitric oxide. So I went to Oregon State University and got a science advisor to help explain it, who ultimately became the science advisor for my company. And just got really excited about bringing fresh beet juice to market, but Oregon State suggested that there were a lot of problems with fresh beet juice, refrigeration, oxidation, nutrient loss, just kind of a hassle to make and ship. So we went to a powder. And at that time I was also learning about tart cherry and added tart cherry to it. Anyway, so a friend came over. I had this powder, basically, long story short, a dietitian friend came over and she's like, well, my friend at the Detroit Red Wings, they juice beets. They might be really interested in this. And I'm thinking, I got a health and wellness product, not a sports product. I just want to heal from it. And she said, well, you might just try it and just send her the powder. So I did. I guess it was the fall of 2014. They liked it so well that we were hand filling packets in my kitchen. And so we had like the whole system set up. We had our little bonnets on and I had my son and my daughter and my wife were all involved. We had this production line. It was really cool in the kitchen. And we took a snow cone, the paper one, and flipped it over and we cut it at a bias because we discovered that if you cut it straight across, the powder won't go through. So I had like a scoop and we had this system putting labels on and crimping them closed at the end. And it became a sports food like overnight, literally. And I did that for, wow, the Wings are still a customer today. I picked up a bunch of other NHL teams and other professional teams and colleges and even the Olympics, the men's Olympic swim team. And then aging people started buying it. The original market that I wanted for people wasn't really aging, but it was for people that really need nitric oxide to heal with. And as we get older, we lose nitric oxide. So I accidentally discovered this other need, and then our audience grew and the business grew.
That's an amazing journey. when you hear the story of how, one little tip, one little conversation really blossoms into something. Let's talk just a little bit about the science. For the average person, I think you'll do a great job of breaking this down. The difference between the dietary nitrates, which come from the product itself, the beets, the spinach, what nitric oxide is, and circulation, and then how all of this connects together.
Yeah, so dietary nitrate is a compound that is inherent to beets. And you eat beet, and there's dietary nitrate reacts with bacteria on the back of the tongue and turns that nitrate to nitrite. And then the nitrite turns into nitric oxide as it's going down through your digestive system and a little bit into your stomach. And nitric oxide is a gas, and it's released throughout the body. It's really a fundamental function of the body. Without it, we wouldn't be able to live. And yet, a lot of people don't even know what nitric oxide is. In fact, they call it nitrous oxide, laughing gas, by mistake. But it's something that is that thing I was experiencing that I didn't know what it was when I was juicing beets. And I got really, really excited about how it works and have continued to stay in that path for a long time. It really helps relax blood vessels and improve blood flow. So athletes need it because they need anything they can do to get to the finish line, ahead of everybody else. Aging people need it because by middle age, we lose about 50% of our nitric oxide production, which is crazy. And you can't really get it all from food. There's a combination of things that you can do. Supplementing is just one thing, but there are a lot of activities, from nasal breathing, just breathing in through your nose helps create nitric oxide in the lungs. Ching is really excellent for you. Of course, exercise, avoiding things that constrict blood vessels, too much alcohol, too much salt. And, there's, eating a diet that is heavy in dark leafy greens is really helpful. And, a lot of this is common sense, what not to eat. I think most of us could say, even though we eat them, we could say, here's what we or I shouldn't be eating.
Mm-hmm.
And we know why, because we don't want to clog our arteries. Not eating the right foods that don't contribute to clogged arteries also helps support healthy circulation. So basically, it's about reducing blood pressure.
So most people have heard of beets, obviously, and maybe even the relationship between that and nitric oxide, but you went in a different direction and you went with the red spinach. So tell me about how that came about.
Well, most companies, and mine included, don't tell you how much dietary nitrate is in that beet powder. It's a very challenging thing because beets are a bit inconsistent in their uptake of nitrate. So I was researching other were high in dietary nitrate, and I discovered the amaranth plant, those little amaranth seeds that you find in some of the health food stores. Is a superfood, and those leaves have a nitrate content that's roughly 5 times more concentrated than beets. And because you need so little to get to that point, it's easier to measure the nitrate levels in it. You're able to actually say that in this amount, you're getting this much dietary nitrate. That is music to an athlete's ears. When you can tie the amount of dietary nitrate to a clinical study that shows athletic improvement, that's big news. And a couple researchers from these universities were ahead of me on that already. Apparently, they've already known about red spinach or something. They found me and they asked if I would like a clinical study. And I'm like, well, yeah. So they did 2 clinical studies. The last one was released in just December last year. And it's just been great. And you really can notice the difference, when you use it and when you don't use it.
Yeah, so the 2 studies you had done in particular, the one with Stanford University showed that red spinach helped athletes maintain power longer and reduce fatigue during repeated efforts. Was that the most current study, or was that the initial study? The one from Stanford?
That was the initial study, I think. A lot of it too is the perception of pain. One of the things that was sort of an indirect discovery was that lactic acid was was found to be greater volume in the blood before or after taking the red spinach than it was before, which is interesting because the athletes perceived less pain and were able to go like longer and stronger without feeling like pain. I mean, pain slows us down, right? And lactic
Yeah.
acid is a problem in
That's
that regard.
That's the thing that usually makes us want to stop doing the activity that we're doing is because it becomes uncomfortable. It's not that our body's actually giving out at that point, it's that perception that it just feels really, really uncomfortable. So if you
So,
can do that or at least drag that out a little bit.
yeah. Well, I think it gives a kind of another definition to the term endurance,
Mm-hmm.
because if you feel good, you just want to keep going. And for endurance athletes, and which is, I mean, just about every athlete needs endurance, but that's not all. Aging people, we all want endurance, and nobody wants to feel a crash. That's one of the beauties of this. There's no, unlike beets, amaranth does not inherently contain a lot of sugar. So it's just another benefit of it. There's also the fact that we're able to remove the oxalates because there's just not as much volume. So it's just much easier for us to work with.
Yeah, oxalates, that's something I've just recently become familiar with as being potentially an issue and understanding that kale isn't always great for everyone, specifically because of that.
Yeah, it's true. I know that oxalates should be managed.
Hmm.
Definitely. Concern for them seems to be growing. I mean, we get questions all the time. Are there oxalates in your red spinach? And we actually have a clinical study not a clinical study, but a lab report that we can offer that shows that our product is oxalate free.
So I have my red spinach right here, actually, and you can see inside. It's kind of like a clay color. I tasted it by itself just to see what that was like with the water. It's earthy. It's got kind of an earthy taste in and of itself. Some people may love that and just be able to chug it down. Is that the way you take it, or do you mix it up with stuff?
I had some this morning. In the mornings, I usually have it with OJ. I have a little shaker, not like a plastic with the nipple thing on top, just a
Yeah.
regular, it's actually a vinaigrette shaker.
Okay.
And I just put like maybe like 4 ounces
Uh
of
huh.
OJ and put a scoop in, like half a tablespoon, or maybe I do a little bit more because I make it. So what can I say? And I shake it up and I just drink it down. And you could it's great in food though. It's actually got kind of an umami
Yeah.
characteristic. You can add it to food. You can sprinkle it on things, and because you don't need so much, it pretty much just kind of disappears. You could put it in pie. If you're making a pie, put it in pie, and every slice of that pie could actually provide a benefit. Wow. Like cookies and stuff, it disappears in cookies because, especially like chocolate, because chocolate's a
Wow.
great mask.
So
So any of that goes away.
heating it doesn't impact the nutritional value of that.
It's better if you don't subject it to, really long heat, but it is heat tolerant to a degree. You could put it in tea
Hmm.
that's mouth burning hot.
Hmm.
Tea is fine.
Well, I put mine in my smoothie today because this was my lunch, and so I threw that in there. Is there any reason not to add it into a smoothie?
Smoothies are a great way to add it. It's probably the best way to add it because you get, lots of other things too. Like you could put orange in it, and orange helps you convert nitric oxide, and you could put pomegranate juice in it, does the same. These are great. The only reason why I don't usually mention smoothies right out of the gate is because I'm trying to suggest to people the easiest and fastest way to use it. If they think that they have to make a smoothie every time they use it, then it's like, I gotta make a smoothie every
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
It doesn't have to be that way. You just put a little juice in there, or a little water and a little juice, mix it, toss in some of the spinach, shake it and drink it, and you're good for hours. You're literally good for hours.
so it's versatile. You can just do the shot in the morning, or like I said today, my smoothie was my lunch, so that was a great way for me an early lunch to get all my stuff in at one time, and I threw it in there. But good to know also to add it with pomegranate juice because I know pomegranate juice has so many other benefits too.
Yeah, pomegranate's fantastic. And it's stronger tasting.
Yeah.
It's darker and stronger, and it's great. I hate to use the word mask because the red spinach isn't like awful tasting.
No,
It's
no,
just
no, no, not
real.
awful by any means. It's got a little bit of an earthy taste to it, I think, and yeah, certainly not an awful taste. And I could see how it would completely dissipate if you're using it in a bigger recipe, for sure.
I got to tell you something, a little
Yeah.
side thing that I haven't told anybody before.
Ooh, spill the tea. We're getting the first scoop here.
We're making a chew, not a gummy, but
Oh,
a chewable tablet that will have 100 milligrams of dietary nitrate from the red spinach in every one. It won't have any sugar in it. I don't do sugar. I'm not a big fan of natural flavors. However, if I'm going to do a natural flavor, I'm choosing the highest quality one that is backed by, reputation and
mm-hmm.
science because, it's great. This is a great thing because you can chew these like anywhere. Like if you're an athlete or you're just going like you do your red spinach in the morning, you do your smoothie or your quick shake or whatever, and then you go out and maybe like after, 3 or 4 hours you're away or whatever, and you don't have access, you don't want to bring your jar with you or something. You bring these little chewables with you and you eat one or two of those and just keep it going like all day long. It's just a beautiful thing. I'm so excited because it's a berry flavor and it tastes amazing. Really. Anyway, that's my big inside scoop.
Well, we're happy to get the exclusive on that. Thank you. Is there an optimal time of day, or say someone knows that they're going to, like, let's say you're going to run a big race that day? Is there an optimal time to utilize the red spinach before the race?
Yeah, I mean roughly, 60 to 90 minutes for the vasodilation basically to begin. But you can notice it right away. It's really amazing. But if you think about it, for your veins and capillaries, arteries, to relax, nothing's going to happen like that. Everything like, and this is a food, so the food needs to sort of digest, do its thing, and most of the studies show about 60 to 90 minutes before exercise for a trained athlete, but it doesn't have to be that way for everybody. I mean, you could within 30 minutes you could begin to notice benefits.
Every founder, hits resistance when they're starting something. What has been some of the biggest challenges that you have faced? And when you were bringing something like this to market, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I'm not, when it comes to red spinach, I'm a chef, so I was looking for food. I'm not a scientist looking, I'm looking from the science perspective, but what I try to overcome is basically the fact that I don't have a PhD behind me. I just have practical experience. And when I use red spinach and I'm out on a hike with my, two 20 somethings sons, and I'm keeping up with them uphill on 12-mile hikes, that's pretty compelling. And I get really excited about that. And I want to share it with other people. And that's really sort of like the driving force rather than going, oh, the science is there. It's just how I feel. It's sort of like meditation. I really feel exceptional after I meditate. I feel calm. I feel thoughtful. You don't have to be a doctor to prove that meditation works. You just experience it. So when these things happen, this has been how everything has been in my life. When I'm passionate about something, oftentimes I turn it into a business.
I mean, I think you're really educating people on something that they may not even know that they're deficient in. So, how do you overcome that awareness gap?
By listening to your podcast. You
Fancy.
know, yeah, I mean, your podcast rocks here, and this is a good information. I think when people discover, like, they're middle age and they're like, I just feel like my energy is really low. If they can somehow get introduced to nitric oxide, they're going to understand that that may be in large part the reason for their low energy. When I improve my circulation, I just feel off the charts. Like I'm 65 and I feel absolutely amazing. And I feel amazing every day. I'm not, I mean, I do some basic lifting. I got a little bench here in my room. I do, some flies and I do some curls and I do a little stretching. I wouldn't call it yoga. I don't pull out the mat. I have this little routine that sort of keeps me going. And I think that it's having the long view I just became a grandfather. So the long for
Congratulations.
me is like, okay, I know I want to eat the right things. I want to be mobile, most importantly, right? I want to be able to move at the speed of my kids, literally. And that's a huge, so when I think that way, I'm always looking for things. And
Mhm.
somebody who's thinking that way may then discover nitric oxide. I don't know how they couldn't if they really truly have a long view and are looking to have the kind of energy that, quite frankly, that I have.
No, I think as we get older, we certainly start to realize that it's such a cliche, but it really is the marathon and not the race at this point that we're training for and striving for. Obviously, over the past few years, there's been different things that have been focused on. Protein was the biggie last year. I think fiber, 2026 is all about fiber and other supplementation, but not blood flow. And I think people are really missing the beet. No pun intended. Oh, I just thought of that.
Well,
That's pretty good, wasn't
I think
it?
people are missing the red spinach. The beet has been beat to death.
Yeah.
Beets are great. I mean, I don't mean to knock them. I love beets. I make a beet Reuben here that's phenomenal. I love it so much. I'd love to just go into all the details of how to make it, but you kind of get what it is. Make the Reuben the same way, but put beets in there. And I think that red spinach, I don't know if it's the next thing. From me being in this industry for as many years as I have, I could tell you that it is the next great thing. Will it catch on? I don't know. I'd have to probably do a lot of podcasts. Currently, I'm the only company that offers it like in a jar like this because we actually have it made ourselves. We don't source it from someone who makes it. We actually have it made for us. So it's great to be in this position, but it's sort of like opening a store like 8 blocks from Main Street in
Mhm.
the residential when you get the occasional customer coming in. So it's a slow but definitely a steady start for the general public. Sports, they're already starting to catch on to it. They love the difference between the red spinach and the beets, just all the merits.
Hmm. You went through a lot of extensive testing and validation with this product. So, what did that process teach you about building something in the wellness space?
Well, it's a pain in the neck is what it teaches me. It teaches me to decide if it's worth it. Is it really worth all the trouble I have to go through to get it approved, to go through a GMP, good manufacturing facility, FDA approvals, and all this kind of thing? And the answer is, in this case, 100% yes. It is a long road. I mean, you have to test like for 350 different pesticides, and when we were first having these tested, I was a little concerned. What happens if it comes back? It's got pesticides in it. Oh my gosh! And I'm sitting on half a ton of powder. You know, but we were very fortunate. It's been very blessed because it's actually red spinach. Our red spinach is actually super clean. It's amazing. In fact, when I first discovered all its merits, I was like, this just can't be true. And when we started doing the testing, I was just every test result came in. It's like, wow, this is great. This is great. This is great. It's fabulous. So when people do discover it, Red Spinach Company, I think, and when they start to use it, they're going to understand why I feel so great about it and why we've gone to such great extent to test it.
So, you've overcome some big hurdles and with the testing and jumping through all of that. Would you say that education is your biggest hurdle at this point, or is it something else?
Yeah, I always want to be a smarter person than I am.
I meant education to the public, awareness, perhaps. I should have said awareness.
Oh, it's not about me? Uh, yeah, it's definitely a challenge. I mean, that's why I'm doing podcasts and I talk about it. It is, a lot of people that have been longtime customers are making the switch from beet over to red spinach. But people are just so used to beets. They understand beets. So yeah, it's a long view. Like I was saying, it's a long view. My long view is that we're going to be here ready to serve those people that get it. And, we grow every day. Awareness and sales, we grow every day. And it's just takes time. It just takes time.
So, the long view, you're ready for that. And you mentioned that you guys are coming out with the chews. When will the chews be available?
Well, it's probably going to be a few months. It might be towards the fall. Chef is picky, So I taste them and I'm like, it's okay. It's good. It's getting better. So we're working on the flavor profile right now because if you're going to be chewing these things, they got to taste good. And incidentally, I wanted to mention something very important here. The use of mouthwash and antacids is not a good thing for increasing nitric oxide. You really want to have the bacteria in your mouth. So you don't want to kill that bacteria. It doesn't mean that you can't brush your teeth. It's just better probably not to use fluoride toothpaste. Or if you do, then to give some time, like maybe have your drink first and then brush your teeth. But antacids really needs an acidic environment for nitric oxide to work. So if you've been taking antacids, you're not doing yourself any favors. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not suggesting that you do anything other than consider that you need an acidic stomach for nitric oxide to really do its best job.
No, thank you for that PSA. I just recently, I'd say in the past really 2 or 3 years, became aware of how counterproductive mouthwash was and never knew that. You don't know what you don't know sometimes. I thought I was actually doing a good thing by keeping bacteria out of my mouth, not to mention the whole fresh breath component, but I didn't realize how bad it actually was for the whole gut system altogether and what
Well,
that.
I don't think that nature intended for us to mess with the bacteria that helps make our food work in our body. We do these things to ourselves. And a lot of times, I mean, sure, bad breath, that's definitely a thing. Uh, it's not like you have a choice between bad breath or, and a healthy heart. I think really it just boils down to when you brush and then when you talk to people, just talk this way.
Well, so much
Turn
of
your
our
phone this way.
conversation, so much of our conversations in today's day and age are via screens, so we're safe. We're safe when it comes to that component. During our initial conversation, we had talked a little bit about AI. Obviously, my company, Soaring Solutions, we offer solutions to practitioners, physicians, just founders, people in the health and wellness space, and to help them figure out if there's a place for AI in their business that can help them operate more efficiently, gain customers, whatever it is, create content. Tell us how you are currently using AI in your business at this point.
So I use AI to help find stuff. I think AI has a reputation in some cases to provide some information that can be uncertain. But if you use AI, as you know better than I do, if you use AI in such a way that it provides backup for these are mostly for critical things. Like if you're using it to, write a professional letter, really, I mean, you'll know if it's well written or not. I'd say AI does an outstanding job with that kind of thing. When it comes to relying on facts that are crucial for self-belief and for teaching others, I think AI is superb when you ask it to provide a link backing up what it says about a particular thing. So I use it all the time. I mean, I use AI for like if I'm looking for a guitar, a type of guitar for sale. I play guitar and I dabble in them, actually a little more than dabble, but I'll ask AI to show me, any live listings for a particular specific model, make and year of a guitar. And it's beautiful because it's really fast and accurate. There's a lot of things that we use it for trivia, for answering trivia. Not that it's trivial, but like, somebody might say something. It's like, is that true? And then we'll look it up on AI and it's like, it's great for that,
Yeah.
for sort of that fact finding, fun fact finding. I mean, I could go on. There's so many. I think AI is just such a incredibly important, useful, even vital part of our lives. Maybe not vital at this point in time, but wow, if we're not on the AI vibe now, I think it's a mistake. I think it's really because you get such a quick response and my experience is that I can ask AI to reply like it used to just send me like massive amounts of information and I'm like I have a question about this, reply about it in 3 sentences or briefly or give me 5 bullet points. That's been huge. Otherwise I'm like wading through all this information. So how I talk to AI, how this sort of relationship that we have really is based on it understanding what my needs are. And then I will say, save this. And
Mm-hmm.
I discovered that on my own. I never took like a class on how to use AI per se, but I come to find out that if that it's important to ask it to save uh, things, like save a letter I'm working on or something like that.
Yeah, I heard actually Jay Shetty said, I was listening to his podcast, I don't know, a week or so ago, and he said that one of the greatest things that's come out of AI is it's taught us how to ask really good questions again, because the answers that you get from it are really only as good as the questions you ask. And for us to be really specific and really drill down, and it's a bit of a skill that we've lost even when communicating with other people, that's when you get the best results for those types of situations. And obviously, I think it really shines when it does gather data, put it together in a nice, concise place, things that might have taken someone days, weeks sometimes to really scour everything, have that all combined for eliminating tedious tasks, things that really can give you back your time. And as a entrepreneur, someone who can reclaim a little time in some space is always a true gift for sure. If you could hand off one task to AI right now in your business and take it off your plate, what would that be?
Oh, let's see. Wow. If AI could, well, wow. If they could make products for me. Actually, if AI could do the job of like nutritional facts on different ingredients. I haven't really used it for that, but I imagine that it could. But like giving me the nutritional facts, like if I give it a recipe and I would ask it for the nutritional facts in a concise chart-like system or you know, in an Excel document or something like that. That would be really helpful because I've written cookbooks and working on cookbooks, more and more people want to know the nutritional values in them. And that is a lot of work to have AI to just put the recipe into AI and have AI come back with it. Wow. Yeah, I would do that. And I am working on another cookbook. It's a plant-based cookbook, but I've been working on that for 10 years.
Are you getting close?
Yeah, the thing is, thank you for asking, because this is just a very short story. It started out with like, I kind of gave up meat and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought I had a great cookbook, and it had sugar and salt and oil in it. And then a friend of mine who's vegan said, is there any way that you can get rid of the sugar? And I was like, or lessen it. And then so I had to go through and I had to research all the different types of sweetener alternatives. And I don't mean like stevia, xylitol, these kind of things. I was thinking more like your fruit and like lemon and things like that. So I've been upgrading these recipes, removing oil, like pan sauteing without oil. Have you ever made a roux without butter or oil?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, roux, classic French cooking,
Yeah.
that's my background. You just take flour, and I know I'm kind of going off base here, but I'm going down the rabbit hole, so
Now
I
I'm
might as well.
curious. Yeah, I'm curious how I'm going to make a roux without butter. Lay it on
Yeah,
me.
yeah. You just take flour and you just sprinkle it into a pan and you just lightly brown the flour. When you first smell it, you'll get that kind of raw flour smell.
Mhm.
And then just like a roux, as it begins to get a little bit of a cream color, it changes to sort of like a pie crust, a little bit of that cooked flour scent, and just let
Mhm.
it cool. And unlike a roux where you normally add a hot roux to a cold liquid or a cold roux to a hot liquid to avoid the clumping that can
Mhm.
happen. In this case, you just let it cool and take a cold liquid and you just put it into the cold liquid, something like about a tablespoon per cup of liquid for a sort of an average thickness rule of thumb. And you just whisk it in there and then heat it up and just stir it. And it's clump free, it thickens. There's no oil, there's no fat. It's a fat free roux.
Wow. Well,
And
that's a
it's,
good tip.
oh, it's very effective. I've used it. I was thinking when I was a chef, wow, in fact, even as a business, I could probably, instead of like, a 5 pound bag of flour, do like a 5 pound bag of browned flour or
Uh-huh.
something.
Uh-huh.
So if somebody takes that idea and runs with it, please 10% back this way. Let's give Beth a couple points too.
You might have a little intellectual property there for sure. Well, obviously, taking the red spinach is a great way to get your nitrates, improve your nitric oxide. What is something people are doing daily right now that's actually hurting their circulation without even realizing it?
Probably number one is not moving enough. I think moving the body and having, getting your body accustomed to the routine of circulation, of moving blood, just walking, doing something consistent every day, I think is extremely important. Again, I think meditation, I'm a huge fan of meditation. I think when you calm the body, you calm your blood vessels, you relax. You can breathe in through your nose. So just a little bit of calm down time, nasal breathing, and getting out and moving. Even humming. A study came out that said humming increases nitric oxide.
Interesting.
So just go humming along and you're gonna be increasing your circulation.
And if someone improves their circulation, what are the ripple effects of that across their entire body?
Well, I mean, you're without being like a doctor and giving you all of the deep science behind it, all the oxygen and all of your nutrients have better access to all these places, these far reaches in your body. When you're paying attention, it's like clearing the highway. You just get there quicker, you get there cleaner, less obstacles in the way. So circulation, has an impact on, I'm pretty sure, just about every part of the body, every organ, even your brain. I mean, nitric oxide has been associated with, cognition. How could it not be when
Mhm.
you are getting more oxygen to all these places? And it only makes sense to be paying attention to increasing your nitric oxide through supplementation and food that you eat, and increasing nitric oxide through activities as I've described, and through things like not consuming antacids and killing all the bacteria in your mouth. Collectively, this is going to make you feel better. You're going to feel more energetic and more alive.
Well, Rick, clearly the benefits of this from everyone, starting with professional athletes and the benefits that they're feeling, the ability to really up their game and perform at their highest level, but even just to the average person, the benefits are crystal clear. And I think what you're making is an amazing product. I'm going to continue to use it, continue to drink it. Tell everyone the easiest way for them to get their hands on the product. I'm going to put all the links in the show notes for people. And I think you also have a special promotion for any of the listeners today.
I do. So redspinachcompany.com is the place to go. And wellness 20, doesn't matter if it's upper or lowercase. Wellness 20 will get you 20% off and free shipping. One thing about nitric oxide is it's really not meant to be a once in a while thing. And I'm not trying to sell like more product. Of course, I want to sell more product, but the honest truth is that really doing something daily for your nitric oxide, having a well-rounded approach to it, and having that long view for things that you want to keep doing for as long as possible, or doing things that you're currently not doing, is really the mindset. When you have that mindset, you're just going to want to do all these things.
Yeah, once you start feeling better, you want to keep doing the thing that's making you feel better.
Exactly.
For sure. Well, thank you so much, Rick. This has been such a fascinating conversation. I think really informative. I'd never heard of red spinach until I reached out to you. So, from a personal perspective, I can say that I'm sure there's a lot of other listeners out there, and really glad that you're bringing awareness to this. So, thank you for being on the podcast today.
Well, Beth, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Take care.